Okay, cool. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you everyone for joining today to learn a little bit more about the registration process to take dual enrollment classes at Foothill College as a high school student. So I can start by introducing myself. So my name is Alejandro Favela. You can call me Alex. I am the dual enrollment program coordinator working in the outreach department, overseeing schools in Santa Clara County. I will disclose I do work with very specific pathways with very specific high schools. I could be definitely your second point of contact. But I will later at the end of the presentation, I will share, who your best point of contact should be. But nonetheless, I'm excited to come join and share this information because I know that there's a lot of little intricacies that go behind registering and learning about dual enrollment and your options as a high school student. So I'm very excited to be here and once again, right, just to share this information, this knowledge with you all. So I will go ahead and actually this time started. If you do have any questions, please just raise your hand or drop them on the chat. I will try to get to them as I go through the presentation. Of course, if they're relevant to the slide that I'm currently at. If there are any kind of other questions that are once again not relevant to like what I'm covering, I will definitely try my best to get to them at the end of the presentation. But please save your questions, drop them on the chat, raise your hand. I definitely want to, of course, I want to make sure that this is that you get something out of this, right? So the whole point is to address any questions or concerns you may have. I just wanted to give you all kind of an overview or an index of my presentation and what I'll be covering. And then Jessica, what I can do is I can also share this presentation with you so you can, share with the students that are here and then the students that weren't able to join, you can also share with them as well.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Cool. So once again, this is the overview, right? I did want to make sure that you're familiar with our academic calendar and class schedule. I'll make sure to review those because they are important even before you start the registration process. Of course, I'll share the steps to register. And then really what takes up the most space here in this presentation is going to be the 2 steps to register, right? Which is the online application and then our current Adobe Sign special admit form. We also call it a Adobe Sign dual enrollment form. But once again, this is just an overview. And then, sorry, went the wrong way. Oh no. Okay, there we go. Cool. So, so as you see up here, so before you start the registration process, 2 of the websites that you should definitely get familiar with are our academic calendar and our class schedule. You'll see here that I put down kind of the type of information you'll get from these websites. Our academic calendar, right? It's going to give you all the important dates and deadlines, right? When you can actually enroll in the classes, important dates to drop or add classes, really kind of anything along those lines. And I can actually open the website right now so y'all can check it out too. And then our class schedule, right? So this is where you're actually going to see the list, our class listings or course offerings. And then even under the classes that we're offering, right, you'll see all the important information that you need to know about the class, right? For example, when it meets, right, like the days, the times, is it online, is it in person, right? Like, is it transferable? Does it have any prerequisites? And once again, right, I can dive into that class schedule right now too, so we can check it out more in detail. But once again, as y'all can see, right, it kind of makes sense, right, why you would want to get familiar with all this information even before you start the registration process and you complete your online application and your special admit form. So let me actually go ahead and open them up so we can, whoops. So our academic calendar, right? This is pretty easy and pretty simple to navigate. You'll see over here on the left side of the page, you have all the different quarters that we have. Of course, it is important to highlight for those of you that don't know, Foothill College as well as the ANSA, we are on the quarter system, right? So we do have 3 quarters throughout the year, right? Compared to high schools or other colleges where you all would have 2 semesters, right? So it's important to know our spring quarter actually started a couple of weeks ago. And then you'll see here, if I click on the summer tab, Our summer quarter or traditional summer classes will start on June 28th. So right there from the get-go, these are some important dates that you should know and be familiar with. This presentation is actually coming in at a perfect timing for you all, because if you are interested in signing up for summer classes, our schedule of classes is actually going to be released on April 26th. So on April 26th, you're actually going to be able to go into our class schedule and then see, once again, right, all the listings or all the classes that we're going to be offering during the summer. So we can actually, and as based on my presentation, that was really the next thing that I wanted to cover, right, the class schedule. So we can actually dive into it and check it out as well. And of course, right, like you'll have access to this website. So, definitely get familiar with it, right? Like definitely go over all these dates because they are important. I think it's amazing that y'all have this opportunity to take summer classes, or not summer classes, college classes. But of course, you'll realize that they also come with a lot of responsibility, right? There's going to be a lot of self-advocacy, a lot of responsibility for you to stay on top of these classes, because these classes will essentially, right, go on your college transcript. And regardless of where you go to college, if you go to Foothill, De Anza, a UC, CSU, out of state, etc., these classes are going to follow you right in your college transcript. So it's important to keep that in mind as you take on this challenge and take on this amazing opportunity to receive college credit as a high school student.
Oh wait, if we have a question, do we comment or can we?
Is it related to what I'm talking about right now, Nicole?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead and ask.
I remember when I was looking at the course catalog last year, and I believe I was like looking, I think, under communications, and I don't think, I could be wrong, but it didn't seem like every single course was CSU verified or like would qualify. So to clarify, not all of the college or not all of the courses qualify, right, for UC or CSU?
That is correct, Nicole. And actually, you're actually setting me up to dive into our class of schedule or course catalog. So I'm actually going to go into it right now, and then we can kind of review the classes. And as you mentioned, right, like determine which classes are transferable and which ones aren't. So let me go ahead and click on it. And then same with our class schedule. It's really easy to navigate, pretty straightforward. I think it's pretty user friendly. All you really have to do here is just select the quarter. Once again, right, you're not able to see our summer quarter just yet because it hasn't really been released. So if there's a date that you want to write down or put down on your notes, is April 26th. That is the date that we're gonna start. Sorry, give me 1 second. Let me just getting some students joining the breakout or the waiting room. Oh, there's a lot of sorry, y'all. Yeah, so once again, right, April 26th, that's the date that you want to save. If you're interested in taking summer classes, April 26th is going to be the day that we're going to release our course catalog for the summer. Let's just kind of just to do a quick overview of like classes. Hypothetically speaking, let's say that you're interested in taking spring classes. You could just select, right, like you would just select the quarter as well as the department. So as Nicole kind of mentioned, let's talk about maybe communications, right? Communication studies. And that's really all the two things that you have to select here. You would hit search, and then it would basically just give you a list, right, of all the classes that we'll be offering. Two of the kind of the most important things that you'll need to look out for here are definitely if the class has any prerequisites, right? It will say, here, let me just find a class that maybe does have prerequisites so you can see it. Not communications 1B. I guess our communications classes don't have prerequisites. Interesting. Let's see here. Huh. Okay. So maybe our communications classes was a bad example to use because I did not know that our communications classes did not have prerequisites. So maybe let's try another. Let's try, like, for example, biology, right? We know that usually science classes are the ones that have prerequisites. So this would be a good example, right? Let's just say, hypothetically speaking, right, you're interested in taking bio 1A, right? You'll see right away, right, prerequisites. So once again, this is maybe you can someone on the chat, or if you want to unmute yourself, can you let me know what a prerequisite is?
Chemistry 1A and chemistry 1A honors.
So those would be the classes, right? That would be the prerequisites. But do you know what the like definition of prerequisite is, or what is it, what it means?
Class that you are required to take so that you have the available knowledge to take the class which requires or has the class listed as prerequisite.
Yep, you're on point, Daniel. So yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory, right? It's a class that you have to complete prior to signing up for Bio 1A. So once again, right, like this would be, of course, important for you to know. As you're looking for classes, you want to make sure that you have completed those prerequisites. And in some classes, you'll see, for example, like Chem 1A or equivalent. And that is where you do have that flexibility of maybe using the classes that you've taken in high school, or maybe AP classes to fulfill those prerequisites. And then, as kind of Nicole was mentioning earlier, right, the transferability, right? It will also tell you if this class is transferable to a CSU and a UC. Of course, it gets a little tricky with private universities, right? Out-of-state universities, because we don't have that direct articulation agreements, right, with those universities. Of course, community colleges do have those direct kind of lines of communication with the CSUs and the UCs. So it's very easy for us to, to let you know as a student, take this class and UC Irvine will give you credit for this, or Sacramento State will give you credit for this. Astra, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was wondering how we know if we've taken a prerequisite, or are they all like community college classes? Or like, again, how do we know if one of our EP classes that we've taken is transferable to a community college course?
That's a great question, Astra. So let me see if I can come down to a class that maybe would have that option to Bio 1A. So kind of your rule of thumb should be, if you see like, for example, sorry, and I'm scrolling kind of fast here, but once again, right, if we come back to our initial example, if you see Chem 1A or Chem 1AH or equivalent, that's usually, that should be like a hint for you to, to look into it. And also what you can do is you can actually contact our, I will drop this on the chat later. It's our Office of Assessments. So they're the ones that will, let you know, right, like what that equivalent is, right, or if college, or if high school coursework would be the equivalent that's required to take the class. Astra, we'll actually get back to your question at the end, okay? So I can share that contact information. Yep, no worries. Cool. Any other questions about either our academic calendar or our class schedule? Because I do want to continue with the rest of the presentation. I want to be a little better about time management and make sure that we cover everything. Okay, cool. So I will go ahead and then jump back to the presentation.
Alejandro, do you maybe want to maybe wait until the end, and then if you don't mind, are you able to share your email address, or do you want students to maybe email me and then I can kind of filter the questions to you?
Yeah, definitely, Jessica. So I do have my email address at the end of the presentation, and then I can also, or if you don't mind, just dropping it on the chat as well to for students to save it for the records as well.
Awesome. I'll do that. Thank you.
Cool. So then as we kind of move on, so this is the registration process, right? These are all the steps that you'll have to complete to fully matriculate, fully enroll in a Foothill class. Apply for admission. I'm gonna dive in right now into the online application, but that's pretty much what it means, right? Applying for admission, meaning completing your online app, submitting a special admit form. Part of the presentation, I'm also gonna cover what that special admit form looks like. Attach your unofficial transcripts. It's very, very important that you do this part. It's part of the Adobe sign process, part of the special admit process. I've noticed that our admissions and records office usually cancels forms forms that are submitted because students forget to attach their unofficial transcripts. So it's very, very important that as you're completing your special admit form, once again, right, that you attach your transcript. Check on the status of your dual enrollment form. I can share all these websites with you all, but you'll notice that they're pretty easy to look up or find. If you go to foothill.edu/HS, then of course it'll give you this list as well as kind of all the details that go under each step, right? Register for classes, right? So This is also important, right? As you complete the registration process, you're also responsible for then going into your Foothill My Portal and enrolling in classes. So that's just something to keep in mind. Let me just have other students on the waiting room. And then lastly, so pay for your fees. Once again, right, like this is the part where there's like where you kind of have to read the fine print. I will tell you, generally speaking, if you, for example, if you're taking classes during the summer, you can enroll in up to 6 units and have your tuition fees waived, right? Meaning that you don't have to pay for the actual tuition of the class. However, you'll have to be mindful of any like textbooks or materials, right, that you would need for the class. Of course, I want to say like 95% of our classes during the summer are still going to be online. But for example, when we come back to in person, right, like if you have to drive to Foothill, then of course that's a fee that, that you'll have to keep in mind because you'll have to pay for parking once you get there. But it's really kind of like all the like secondary miscellaneous fees that you would have to pay out of pocket. Once again, right, that's like textbooks, materials, parking, really anything that comes around like joining the class. But the actual unit fees, right? Those are waived by us, by Foothill. That's so once again, right? Like if in the summer you can take up to 6 units for free. For fall, winter, and spring, you can take up to 11.5 units for free. Right, and of course, there's the option of if you want to go on and take more than your cap, than your maximum, you would be responsible for paying like the full cost of the classes, right? So not just the extra units, you would be responsible for paying, let's say you're like, I'm really committed about taking 50 units, right, of dual enrollment. Like I want to do it, like, I don't care what it costs. I want to sign up for that. You can actually do that. You would have to petition for it. But once again, right, that means that you'd be responsible for paying, for the entire 15 units, not just the extra ones. And if there's any more questions around that, I can get to them at the end of the presentation. And then cool. So the online application, once again, right, this is step 1 of the registration process. I'm not gonna, like stop at every step. Once again, I am gonna share this presentation with you all. So you're gonna have access to it. You're gonna be able to see the step-by-step, which I'm hoping this will be helpful. But really your starting point, right, if you go to foothill.edu/apply, you're going to see like a big kind of a tab in the middle of the page that says apply now. You would just click on that. And then I wanted to also kind of highlight this or make you aware of this. If you've taken any community college classes in the past, then you would be signing in, right? And this is, once again, even if this was a class outside of De Anza, outside of Foothill, let's say you took a class at, I don't know, San Jose City College, right? You would be signing in because essentially that OpenCCC account, it's an account that's used system-wide, right? So it doesn't matter what community college you took the class at, it's still going to be that same sign-in process. And then of course, right, if this is your first time taking a community college class, a dual enrollment class, then you would be creating your account for the very first time. I just wanted to highlight that because I know that we also often come across issues where students are struggling to log in, but that's because they've taken a class in the past and they just forgot or they don't have their login credentials. I also wanted to make this kind of a right, like dividing once again, right, that if you're a returning student, you're just starting a new application for the appropriate term. And then if you're a new student, then once again, right, you're starting from scratch, you're going to be creating your account for the very first time. And then
I have a question.
Yeah, question, what's up?
Oh, sorry. So it asks for your social security number.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're an immigrant, so you don't have a social security number in America.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great question. So you actually don't need your social security number to take college classes. Of course, we are a very inclusive kind of system and environment where we are mindful that the students might not have a legal status here in the US, right? So you don't have to have a social security number to take classes. There is actually an option where you can say, no, I don't have a social security number.
Yeah,
and
but
then
it says check this box if you're a student and enrolled in exclusively non-credit courses and document student, international student. Oh, sorry, I'm in school.
no worries. Yeah, and then you can actually check that box and it should let you continue with the application. If you have any other any kind of like more detailed questions, I'm gonna drop my email address on the chat, and we can connect offline too, so I can help you with your application. Okay. Cool. And then this is I guess kind of irrelevant at this point, but our fall application did open April 1st. Our summer application has already been open since March. So once again, right, you can dive into our online application and complete it at whenever you'd like at this point. Just kind of some important things to keep in mind here. Of course, right, so depending on what term you're interested in, if you're interested in taking summer classes, then you would select summer, fall. You're completing credits for a high school diploma or a GED. And then this question right here is the one that I definitely want to highlight, the college enrollment status. You would be selecting the option that says enrolling in high school or lower grade in college at the same time. We often come across issues where students select something different than that, and then it just throws off your application because our system will flag you down as a first-time college student, right, or a student that has already been attending college as a high school graduate. So definitely keep in mind that you do have to select this one, enrolling in high school or lower grade in college at the same time. And then once again, this will be pretty intuitive once you dive into the application, right? You'll see on the left side of the page that there's like these little green bubbles that check on the progress of your application. Once you complete all of them, then you're just gonna go down to submit your application. And then that's it, right? Like you're gonna get a confirmation page, great job, you completed your application. And then really in terms of next steps here, you should be getting a welcome to Foothill College email within 48 hours. So this is kind of I know it's a big kind of window, but we do have students that get this welcome email within 2 hours, maybe within 5 hours, 10 hours, 24 hours. Sometimes it takes up the whole 48 hours. But just definitely keep an eye out for this welcome to Foothill College email, because this is going to contain your student ID, your Foothill student ID, right? We call it CWID, which is short for campus-wide ID, but also we call it the Foothill student ID. So once you receive this email, once you receive that student ID, then you can actually move on to the next step of the registration process, right? Which is the Adobe Sign form, and which is the one that I'm going to dive into right now. And then once again, there is more kind of like if you just want to learn more about it, or go like to the website where this just to get more help on the form, you can actually go to foothill.edu/HS, and then you'll have all the information there. I wanted to kind of help students out here with like, for example, if this is your first time logging into the Foothill My Portal, we also often get questions about this, right? Like, this is my first time logging in, how come I can't log in? So you're actually, once you get that welcome to Foothill College email, which is going to have your CWID, of course, you would enter it here, right, where it says campus-wide ID. And then if this is your first time logging in, then your temporary password is actually going to be the 8 digits of your birthday, right? And then of course I provided an example down here. For example, if it's February, right, make sure to not forget the 0 before the 2, and so on. And then once you enter that temporary password, then it'll prompt you to create a permanent password, and then you'll be good to go. But once again, right, like to find that Adobe Sign form, you do have to go to the Foothill My Portal, and then you can just click on this link and it'll take you there, and then you'll be on your way to complete your Adobe Sign form. And then so just in terms of next steps, right, you go to apps, under student apps, you find the Adobe Sign student forms. You would click on that. And then I also wanted to highlight here, maybe there's some of you out there that have already taken a, sorry, just have someone on the waiting room. Maybe there's some of you out there that have already taken dual enrollment class with us at Foothill. So I just wanted to definitely highlight, right, like if you've already completed this Adobe Sign process, then some of these next steps are not going to apply to you because you've already done this process. But if this is your first time applying or completing an Adobe Sign form, then you're actually required to apply for a student email. And then you'll see down here right at the screen where to click. you would submit your request. Of course, this is for Foothill College. You click that, click confirm. And then once again, you're selecting your last name. And then once you submit that student email request, then it does take up to 2 hours for our system to then activate your email account, your student email account. And then you're able to then come back to the My Portal, to the Adobe Sign app tile, and then continue with the process of completing the Adobe Sign form. So this is kind of where students get a little frustrated. I know I get frustrated. I'm not a big fan of this. The fact that you have to kind of like take these like random like 2 hour kind of stops. But it's just part of I guess our system kind of processing your request to create a student email account. And then once your email account gets activated, then you go back to the Adobe Sign app under My Portal. You initiate your Adobe Sign access. Once again, right, like don't want to take too much time going over these steps because you'll have them with you. But then eventually you'll be able to start your workflow for the Foothill High School student dual enrollment form. You'll click on that one. And then here, this part right here, it's only asking you for 2 email addresses. It's going to be your parent or your legal guardian, as well as your high school administrator. Of course, the whole point of this form, right? It is an agreement. It is a consent that we at Foothill have to have from not only your parents, but also your high school. Of course, right, letting us know that it's okay for you to take college classes, right? That you've had a conversation about these classes, that you know what the commitment is. And once again, right, this is just an agreement of them giving us their consent for you to enroll in these classes. So you would enter their email addresses here. For the high school admin address, definitely check in with your counselor or your high school administrator. I know that for Los Altos students, Ms. Basayo is the one that would be signing off on your forms. And I wasn't sure about Mountain View, so I didn't want to, I don't want to share that information. Unless Jessica, do you know who would be the high school administrator at Mountain View to sign off on these forms?
Yeah, so students are actually assigned to an AP according to their last name.
Okay.
Yeah, so they would check in with their counselor first. They would have their counselor review the form, and then the counselor will let the student know which AP at the school they need to then go to have the form signed off on.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that, Jessica. So yeah, once again, students, if you heard that, if you have any other questions with regards to that, definitely reach out to Jessica, so you can make sure or get the right high school administrator to sign off on your form. And then finally, after like 100 steps, you will get to the actual form, right? Like this is the form that you have to complete and list all your information. The portion at the top is pretty straightforward, right? It's just your identification info, first name, last name, all that good stuff, your high school. Make sure to enter your Foothill College student ID, also known as your CWID. And then I wanted to share some tips with you all as you complete these forms. These are kind of some of the things that our admissions and records office team catches too. And once again, right, like these are just best practices. That way your form doesn't get bounced back, or you're right, like just making sure, right, that you're completing the form the way it's supposed to be filled out. So it's just some tips here. So you must complete a special admit form each quarter that you enroll in classes, right? So if you want to take summer classes, then you would complete a form for that term. Then if you want to come back and take more classes in the fall, then you would have to complete another form, right? List all the classes that you're interested in taking for the respective quarter. Often students, just pick 1 or 2 classes and they're like, I'm going to get into this class. And then of course, right, what happens is that there's, the spots get filled up. There's no more room in the classes. And then students have to then come back and complete another form, which I know could take a little bit of time. So just, in terms of being efficient and kind of make best practices, I would recommend you to list all the classes that you're interested in taking. Do not list classes that you plan to take in the future. Once again, this kind of goes back to point A, right? Like you're like, I want to take summer classes, but I know I also want to take fall classes. You're not allowed to list summer and fall classes in one form. You just have to complete a form every quarter. And then this last one, point D, this is the one that we often get a lot of forms like filled out incorrectly. I guess not incorrectly, like this once again, right? Like these little intricacies are not necessarily like common knowledge. But if you list one class, that means that you're clear to take any of the sections that are listed for that class, right? So once again, like let's say you want to take Bio 1A, and then there's like 5 different sections of Bio 1A. You don't have to list every single section of Bio 1A, as long as you say, hey, I have permission from mom and dad and Ms. Basayo for me to take Bio 1A. Then you can actually then sign up for any of the sections. Of course, one, right? Like one. You can sign up for any of the sections of Bio 1A that are offered for that term. Once again, we see this very often when students complete the form. Don't list the same class, right, like multiple times because it has multiple sections. And then once again, right, step number 3, very, very important. Make sure to attach your transcript. You don't want your form to be canceled because your transcript wasn't attached. And then lastly, you would just go ahead and hit submit. And then that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it in terms of on your end. But then of course, as you submit your form, definitely go give mom or dad a nudge, let them know, hey, you should see a form coming your way for you to sign so I can take college classes. Please sign it. So then the form can go to the high school administrator to sign. And then once the high school administrator signs, then the form goes to Foothill to process, and then you'll be all good to go. I did want to, you'll see here that this is where I know we get a lot of questions where students are like, well, I submitted my form, but I don't know how to check on the status of it. Like, where is it? It's a little tricky. And then I can actually, if we have time, Jessica, what time are we here till?
Till 12:50, but you can carry over because I believe it's 7th. Let me check the bell schedule. You can kind of just continue to speak. And for those of you that have class that need to get going, feel free to head out. For those of you that don't have class, and if you're available, you can stay, and then you can just take your time, Alejandro.
Thank you, Jessica. So yeah, so I won't dive into it right now just yet. I just want to make sure that I get to other questions. But I know this is a question that we do get often, right? Like, where's my form? How do I check that everything's going smoothly? Right now, what I can actually do is I can do a live demonstration of like how it is that you can actually get to your form and then check on the status of it. But other than that, that's actually all I have for you all today to share in terms of like information. Definitely, once again, right, like I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, really my direct role at Foothill is to coordinate very specific pathways at certain high schools. So definitely see me as your secondary point of contact, but your first point of contact should always be our admissions and records office. And I provided their email address there. And once again, you're going to have access to this slide deck. So, you can then, copy and paste the email addresses or whatever you want to do. But you will have access to this presentation. Definitely reach out to our admissions and records office first. But if for whatever reason, you're not hearing back from them, then see me as your secondary point of contact so I can help you either troubleshoot or, just help you get through this process. Because I know it's a lot of little steps and we definitely want to make sure that we're doing everything that we can on our end for you to have, access to this opportunity to take college classes. But with that being said, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm actually going to stop recording here as well, just in case there's kind of like specific or personal questions. Stop sharing and then